It's because you don't care, that's why. So let me go down a little further here. Anybody, can I get some volunteers from these middle rows here? Anyone? What did you guys talk about in terms of leadership lessons learned from CFOs? Remember, we have a unique organization. You know, we tend to be analytical and data-driven. We also tend, I mean, it's no secret, right, with Myers-Briggs, we tend to be introverts, right? We tend to be analytical in our ways, and sometimes we bring that sort of focus internally to our organizations. You know, when I was at GAO, Burl can testify to this, but if you've ever dealt with GAO, you know, they take all of that analytical energy and they turn it inwards to the organization. So there's a lot of like angst, you know, with what goes on within GAO. I'm not speaking out of school here, because they are a group of analysts and they turn that energy inward. And as financial managers, we kind of do that a little bit ourselves, you know. So just one observation I wanted to throw out there. So go ahead. What's your name first?
My name is Eileen.
Eileen?
In our shop, it's important to know and share the mission and the vision with the staff so we know why we're doing what we do.
That's great. Sharing the mission and the vision. I mean, it's got to be more than words on a paper, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the people have to see themselves in the mission and the vision. You know, one of the things that I tell my organizations is, has anybody ever seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life? Right? Raise your hand, right? So quick summary for those who haven't seen it, although it's like 3 of you who haven't seen it. So in the movie, a guy named George Bailey thinks that his life has not amounted to very much, and then he's given a chance to see what the world would be like had he never been born. And so he realizes, or he's basically shown, that the world is a much poorer place without him, even though he never really felt like he was kind of a big deal in the world. And so in our world, in financial management, you know, we are the lifeblood of everything that happens in our organization. If we weren't there, a lot of stuff wouldn't get done. The organization, the bigger organization, would be much poorer as a result of our function not being there. But think again, take it one step lower, and think again about what it would be like if you weren't there. If you weren't that critical person at that critical time to help make something critical happen. And it happens to all of us. We are the right person at the right place at the right time, at one point or another. And if it doesn't happen, if it's not right, if we're not on top of it, it doesn't get done. And so that's an incredible enabler for people to remember that we are a critical part of everything that happens. Maybe not every day, maybe not every second of the day, but there's going to come that one moment when you are absolutely necessary and absolutely needed. So communicating mission and values is more than words on a paper. It actually motivates people to move forward, just like putting people first does, just like remembering who we are in the big scheme of things. So that's an excellent point. Thank you. I'm going to move to these rows over here. Can I get a volunteer? What did you guys talk? Or I will pick you. I'm really not afraid. I will pick you. Anybody, any volunteers about what lessons you may have discussed, leadership lessons for a CFO? All right, so you're in a very sharp uniform. So I'm going to pick on you. So first tell me your name and then tell me what you talked about.
My name is Brad.
Brad?
We talked about a couple of things. First of all, that your team has great diversity in their ideas and their thoughts, and that everyone should be valued. And then second was something that you mentioned earlier was about remaining impartial to some of the decisions that the leaders need to make.
Great. Excellent points. Excellent points. So who did you talk to?
To Mike.
Tim? Oh, Mike. I'm sorry, Mike. Good. Excellent points. So diversity of thought, diversity of opinions, diversity of experiences, diversity of backgrounds. Those are super important aspects of being a leader, because it not only enriches us as people, it enriches our organization, but you know, it invites people to actually think contrary, and good leaders will invite that into their organization. You know, we don't have a monopoly on truth. We don't have a monopoly, as leaders, we don't have a monopoly on truth. We don't have a monopoly on good ideas. And bringing those into the fold, trying to understand where people are coming from and what diverse opinions and experiences they bring to a situation, that's excellent. That is key to making a thriving organization. And it helps others to think about how they treat each other with respect. So that's an important part of what we do, getting others to think about each other with respect. And I'm sorry, the second one again was, please remind me.
Remaining impartial.
And remaining impartial, also an important thing. So you've probably all had the experience of working really hard on something, bringing it to the leadership, making your strongest case, trying to be passionate about what it is that you're advocating, and having the leadership go another way, right? We've all had that experience, you know? You can lead the horse to water, you know? But that's part of our jobs. And it's an impartiality that we bring, and it is a burden for us as financial managers that others do not have, frankly. Because of who we are, because of the analytical bent that we have to our work, that is the risk that we take, that we become passionately engaged in something, but that the leadership decides to go another way. We are key influencers of decision making, but we are not the decision makers. Or as a friend of mine used to say, we may not be the actors on the stage, but we sure have good seats to the show. So sometimes we have to be satisfied with that, because it is part and parcel of who we are and what we do. And if we become advocates for something, I would argue sometimes that we're crossing the line. So we have to live with what the decision maker tells us they're going to do. And I've had to do that in my career time and time again, where I've had to say, boss, A, B, and C, what do you want to choose? I'm going to do D. Okay, well, you know, D wasn't on the menu, but okay, we're going to try to make D work, you know, that sort of thing. Let me tell you the good and bad about D, but nope, I love D. All right, we're going to go with D then. So it is a burden that we have to, it's a burden that we all share as financial managers, that maybe others do not, but it is part of who we are. It's in our DNA as financial managers, and it is part of our credibility. So when we don't do it, when we cross that line, do it with care, because we endanger our credibility. Let me ask for another volunteer. Oh, okay, great. I got to see, now when you get to the front of the church. All right, can I get your name?
My name is Michelle.
Michelle?
Yes.
And who are you talking to?
Who am I talking to?
No, who are you? You're talking to me.
Oh, yes, sir.
We're together.
I'm talking to you. Okay. I'm trying to
Here at the
understand.
convention center.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
But you didn't ask everybody else that question.
Who were you
Okay.
working with? Who were you working with?
Who am I working with?
No. Who were you working
Oh,
with?
I was working with Cynthia and Jeff.
Oh, Cynthia and, so it was three. That's why she had a lot to remember. Cynthia and Jeff. Okay. Please go on.
Okay, so we were talking about keeping the balance, because as supervisors, sometimes we might not keep the balance with ourselves as far as work-life balance, and we might work a little too hard. So, of course, if we learn how to keep the balance, we could be more effective leaders in that way. And we could also understand when the others feel, you know, when they say, well, I need balance, you know, we can be able to say, well, okay, I understand what you're going through, and, you know, would not be feeling any kind of way because of the fact that
Sure.
they're doing that. Okay. Another thing is keeping a good rapport with your subordinates, because you're only as good as your team.
Right.
So, and the last thing was knowing and understanding who you're dealing with, especially like if you're working with multidisciplinary teams and so forth. So knowing what the organizations do and that kind of thing in order to be able to be a cohesive group and so forth.
Right. Excellent points. Excellent points. So obviously keeping balance not only within the team, but also the work-life balance as well as balance among the team members. And you know, the best way to do that is to show it yourself. So if you tell everybody, oh, keep that work-life balance, but you are working till midnight every night in the office, you're not sending much of a message. You know, if you tell them this is the priority, and you show them, hey, I'm even willing to sort of buck the hierarchy here and the administration here and give your people a little bit extra, you know, that informs them. That really tells them what your priorities are and the priorities of the organization that they're going to be working with and working for. And then you also said to keep in tune not only with your subordinates, but also the other organizations that you're working with. And that's really important because, you know, you could be the CFO and charge in there and say, I'm going to, you know, take some names and kick some you know what, and they're going to know who's boss. But you got to understand the culture of the organization that you're working in. And if that's not the culture of the organization, then you've got to adapt to it. So for example, in my own career, the Federal Reserve is actually, just to give you 2 seconds of background, the Federal Reserve is actually a very academic kind of organization. You've got thousands of PhD economists running around. They call it the campus, I mean, they really do. And, some of them are a little odd, but, but you got to learn to work with them, because in this kind of environment, it's not like a military environment. So when I worked for the Defense Department, for example, there was a little bit of discussion around every order, but pretty much somebody made a decision and that's how you marched out. At this organization, for example, or at the university where I used to work, decision-making is much more collaborative, much more collegial. So you have to learn to work within that environment, or you're not going to be accepted. You're not going to be respected because you're not one of them. If you go in hard charging, no, 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 eventually, bureaucracies are really good at finding ways to kill good ideas. And they will become the sponge, upon which all good ideas are absorbed and disappear. So, learning to work within the bureaucracy, learning to work within the context and the culture is really important. So you can't lose sight of that as a leader as well. So excellent points, thank you. All right, we're bumping up a little bit against our time here, so I'm just going to give an opportunity for anyone to, any last thoughts on this topic. Any other volunteers that I have? All right, go ahead. Kim. I'm sorry, I'm going to take this off so you can say it.
Give credit and praise publicly, and on the opposite, take the blame. So your team knows you always have, as you said, the team will always know you have their back.
Right, so give credit and praise publicly and be ready to take the blame, right? Yeah, like I said, there were times when I was the windshield and there were times when I was the bug. And it was okay sometimes, I was the bug because a couple of people let the ball drop, but I never let anybody know that, And then when I went back, I said, guys, could you not let the ball drop again, please? But giving praise publicly is incredibly important. And sometimes in the press of business, we don't get a chance to do that. But if you can find times to do that and separate and identify people who have done a good job, it really it boosts everybody. And I always do it in the context of, this person has done a great job, and they got there because we all supported them. We all helped, and let's keep doing that. So that nobody feels singled out, like, oh, why did he get the promotion and nobody else? That sort of thing. No. We all helped that person. So we all created the context upon which that person because that person was successful. Great, these are excellent points. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to each other. The reason I do that is because, number one, it challenges you to get a little bit outside your comfort zone, right? To talk to somebody that maybe you wouldn't normally have spoken to. So you build your network in a small little way, right? Number two, it also challenges you to get outside your comfort zone because you're sharing ideas on a topic that maybe you wouldn't necessarily share ideas on a day-to-day basis. And then number three, it also helps you to think at a CFO level. So it helps you to think of what your boss's boss is thinking about. What are their priorities? What are the kinds of things that they need to think about? So that's why I do this exercise. It's not just because, I like listening to all of you talk, which I do. And I learn a lot from each one of the groups that I talk to. And I always take something back and try to improve myself as a result of that. So so this is a great opportunity for you to learn from each other. This sort of learning experience I applaud you for engaging in because professional development is part and parcel of what we do. We can't stay static. If you stay static, you become a rock and you just get stepped on or you get in somebody's way. So I urge you to take full advantage of this educational opportunity and to use the lessons that you learn here to bring back to the office. Remember, keep the why in mind. It really is a hard conversation to have with that person in the mirror, but it makes all the difference if you can understand that why. Not only as a person, but as a leader as well. I wish you the very, very best. The best of luck and enjoy the rest of the program.